Having reread, bringing it all back home, I thought, well, I can tell some anecdotes about blues and jazz artists, particularly with Edward being here. I thought, having seen Edward as I have before, I bet Edward would have loved to have met George Shearing, an old mate of our family. And when I said to Ian from Root, I might tell something about George Shearing, you know. He said, well, what would you do? I said, I want to read a piece from Jack Kerouac's On the Road, where Kerouac, if you ever come across this book, I'm sure many people in this room have done so. Kerouac writes about meeting George Shearing, going to see him at Birdland. Now I've just got to give you some brief background here. As my family know, the Salvademi family, particularly my mum, Shearing is a great friend of our family. Indeed, just a month ago, Maisie was staying with Ellie Shearing. George is dead now, God rest his soul, but Ellie, his wife, kindly put our Maisie up in Manhattan. But George was born in Hammersmith to a coalman, and he was born blind. And you've got to remember that when George went across to New York City in the early 40s, 1940s, he went across solo, just himself, blind. And I've always been astonished at the bottle, the guts that guy showed to get on a boat at Southampton and sail across to New York City and then establish himself as a musician in the rough, tough areas of Manhattan when he was blind, having to cope with everything all by himself. But this night I'm going to read about, he's playing at Birdland, and I'm looking because I'm going to need some light. Yeah, man! Hey, what about this? You've got to remember, George is blind. And Kerouac and Dean, when I say Dean, it's really Neil Cassidy, as many of you might know. They go and see him at Birdland, and this happens. I went to see Shearing at Birdland in the midst of a long, mad weekend. The place was deserted. We were the first customers, 10 o'clock. Shearing came out, blind, led by the hand to his keyboard. He was a distinguished looking Englishman with a stiff white collar, slightly beefy, blonde, with delicate English summer's night air about him that came out in the first rippling sweet number he played, as the bass player leaned to him reverently and thrummed the beat. The drummer Denzel Best sat motionless, except for his wrists snapping their brushes, and Shearing began to rock. A smile broke over his ecstatic face. He began to rock in the piano seat, back and forth, slowly at first, then the beat went up, and he began rocking fast. His left foot jumped up with every beat, his neck began to rock crookedly. He brought his face down to the keys. He pushed his hair back. His combed hair dissolved and he began to sweat. The music picked up. The bass player hunched over and socked it in. Faster and faster. It seemed faster and faster, that's all. Shearing began to play his chords. They rolled out of the piano in great rich showers. You'd think the man wouldn't have time to line them up. They rolled and rolled like the sea. Folks yelled out for him to go! Dean was sweating. The sweat poured down his collar. There he is! That's him! Old God! Old God Shearing! Yes! 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 And Shearing was conscious of the madman behind him. He could hear every one of Dean's gasps and imprecations. He could sense it, though he couldn't see. That's right! Dean said. Yes! Shearing smiled. He rocked. That's good writing, mate.
That's good writing. Well performed as well.
You're not clapping me, you're clapping Kerouac. I'll just tell you something about George Shearing. And I'm thinking more about Edward than anybody else, because Edward's a great pianist starting out in his life like George once did. George used to come across once every 2 or 3 years. We're massive cricket fans in our family, to Headingley, and he'd fly in from New York and he'd sit in Headingley watching the cricket, even though he was blind. And I'd go and get him a coffee. I was honoured to go and get him a coffee. Occasionally I'd get him a beer. But I remember once I was sat with him just talking generally about how he was picking up on the atmosphere and what he was listening to, God bless him, because of course he wasn't blessed like most of us are with his sight. And I suddenly thought, hold on, I'm not listening here, I'm not talking here to George, to this mate I've got called George. I'm actually talking to George Shearing, the guy who was a friend of Charlie Parker's, Miles Davis, who features in On the Road. And that really shocked me.